Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 114 of the Brunch and Judge.
We're just trucking right along.
I know. I mean,
like,
I'm over here being like, wait till we get to 150, like the Kentucky Derby.
woo!
Which, by the way, no one cares. I know no one cares, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So we watched the Kentucky Derby, like literally 5 minutes before it starts, like as they're putting them in, is when we turn it on. So the first time I see any horse names, I've paid zero attention.
Right.
Look at the list and I go, I'm going to cheer for Mystic Dan.
Just because it has Dan. And you're like, yes.
And then I'm cheering as they're running, and Spencer's like, shh, I can't hear the announcer to saying, go Dad, go Mystic Dan. And then he won by a flared nostril, and I was like, why didn't I bet on this horse for real?
I know,
I would have won somebody, but it's all. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
We are your hosts. I'm Aprile.
Yes. And I'm Claire.
And I missed out on my chance of winning because I chose Mystic Dan because his name was Mystic Dan. This, I have no other reason. I was like, oh, I dig Mystic. I've been watching Zadanza on my YouTube. And I was like, Mystic Dan, that feels right. Let's go there.
Nice.
But anyway, this week we are very excited to bring to you a new topic for us.
Well, a new topic on the wheel. Not really a new topic.
Well, right. New topic for the wheel, but very excited that this week we are talking serial killers.
Yes. Why didn't we put this on there from the beginning?
I don't know. I feel like it was definitely something that I should have done. I feel bad that I never did and that no one pointed it out to me. So
I think it might have been one of those things that we didn't want to just be like everybody else and just automatically do serial killers. Because we've talked about some serial killers in other
Right. I mean, I did
topics.
Do BTK because terrified.
Right.
But yes, so very excited and pretty sure this one is going to be broken up into 2 episodes. So congratulations, everyone. You get 2 episodes that are all about serial killers. Yay.
Yay.
But this week, Claire is going to be telling us about a serial killer. Claire, what serial killer have you brought us this week?
I'm going to be talking about Jack the Ripper.
Ooh, OG serial killer.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back.
I mean, it's always good to have some foundational knowledge of true serial killers.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It was either going to be him or I've got another one in my back pocket that I want to do.
No?
If we land on it again.
Any hints?
He's Russian.
Okay. Russian.
Yeah, he's Russian. Because that was back when the Russians were like, we don't have serial killers.
Oh, right.
That's strictly
an American thing.
Well, it wasn't even American. It was
true.
that's a Western Hemisphere thing. We don't have that.
I love the idea that depending on what hemisphere you're in determines whether or not people are capable of being horrific people.
I know.
And you just kind of want to be like, Russia, have you looked at your history? Are you sure you want to say this?
Yeah, Soviet Union, whatever time period it was in. But still, it's
all Russia.
We don't have serial killers. That's not us. Think about that. It was either him, it was either this or that one. And I'm like, I'm going to keep that one for later.
There you go. There you go.
Take it back to OG.
Yes, absolutely.
But
okay. Yes. Tell us all about Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, because I think this is one, I don't know why, but it's serial killers who haven't been caught are also the ones that are
oh, I know,
live rent free in my brain.
Zodiac all the time.
Him and Zodiac are
Ted
they
Cruz.
Got away.
What are you gonna do?
Who'd you say?
Ted Cruz.
I thought you said Ted Cruz. That's just like, what would you say?
That's what I said. I said Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm.
You did say Ted Cruz.
I said
indeed.
it. I said it.
Which
Not the first person to say it, but
Golden State Killer can no longer live rent free in my brain. He's in jail.
Unfortunately, he still lives rent free in my brain every time. I mean, like, I came downstairs and realized, I was like, God, it's cold. And I was like, oh shit, I left the window open from my last work day. And I was like, oh, well,
you're like, why did I do that?
I guess it's a good thing no one broke in and murdered us in our sleep. So, oops.
I know, right? You're just like, damn. Anyway, so Jack the Ripper. Taking it back to 1800s.
Yes.
1888 in Whitechapel district of London, England. There were a series of murders, all women, sex workers, because, you know, they were like the lowest of the low.
No one seems to care.
No,
it's very irritating.
There are 5 victims that are attributed to him. Some people say more, some people say less. I mean, it is what it is.
We're agreeing that it's probably these 5 at least.
Yeah, at least. I would say, based on the injuries to these 5, I'm gonna say they're all connected. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the first murders in this district that's not attributed to him, but kind of kicked off this time period with murders in this district. It's Emma Smith, and her murder happened on April 3rd. Well, she was attacked on April 3rd, early hours of the morning. Before she succumbed to her injuries on April 4th, she was able to tell her doctor that she was attacked by a local gang. Oh. So that they knew that she was not just attacked by one person. But her name was like in this file folder of Whitechapel murders because, I mean, she was right before all these others started happening. August 7th, and this is one where it's like, is it, isn't it? We don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
Okay.
She's not considered one of the 5. But again, it was like weeks before the first one that's considered one of his. On August 7th, a sex worker named Martha Tabram or Turner. I don't know why people have multiple last names back in the day. They're like, she was also known as this. And I'm like, but why?
Well, because you have your sex worker name, and then you have your non-sex worker name. Yeah, your day name and your night name. How about that?
Okay, it's like your stripper name, I guess.
Yes.
I guess. Okay. She was found in an area called George Yard, which sounded like a pretty sketchy area. It said sorted.
Sordid.
It was sorted.
It's a sordid area.
Yeah, it was a very violent attack. She was stabbed 39 times to her throat, stomach, and chest.
That just like, okay, so here's the question that I have generally when it comes to murders that are very stabby like that. Because it's not like a one, I mean, it happens more frequently than I'm comfortable acknowledging because Dateline tells me so. But like,
yes.
I am weak. I don't have a lot of upper arm strength, but like the thought of stabbing anything, you know, making that motion 40 something times in a row, that sounds so exhausting. And like, why?
I think for me it'd be like 5 tops.
I mean, like
I'm not that committed.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If like I stabbed someone like 2 or 3 times and stop, and then they do like the pop-up Michael Myers kind of a thing, then yes, I probably am going to go for like the 57 times after that. But like,
if your adrenaline's kicking in, like if you're running on adrenaline, I mean, that might get you through. But if you're just, I don't know.
But like, I feel like I just, it's a lot. I would have enough time to be like, my arm is tired, I think.
Yeah, you're like, I can't.
I don't think I could go more than like 15 feels like a lot. Yeah. And so when they're doing like triple that number, I'm always like, I'm sorry. What kind of workout do you do?
Yeah, you're like, oh, my hands get to cramp. My biceps getting a cramp. My shoulder. I can't deal.
It just... sorry. That was my random aside. But every time... Because, like, I think about that with Lizzie Borden. And, like, with all the...
Oh, the axe. Especially with an axe. I can't imagine chopping something. Like, I figure chopping would be even worse than stabbing. Well, and especially because axes are heavy.
Well, and especially, like, Lizzie was little. A small little creature. At least, I think she was. I don't know. But, like, she not only, like, did it once, she did it twice. So, like, the adrenaline would have to, like, totally crash. And then that's a lot.
Right.
Like, there's just no way. That's just me. Sorry.
Yeah.
My weird aside.
I would just something would have had to happen to get like your adrenaline like really pumping, and you're like your anxiety or whatever is like super on high alert. I don't know, but yeah, 39 times. It was frenzied too. There was nothing like, yeah, it was all over. Like I said, may or may not have been a victim of this criminal later dubbed Jack the Ripper. Jury's still out because even though her death was pretty violent, like the 5 victims that are canonically his, her injuries aren't completely the same as the victims that were definitely categorized to be his work. The first victim of the 5, Mary Nichols, they found her body August 31st, 1888 at 4:30 a.m. And here's what's crazy to me. Almost all these victims were seen alive like within an hour, half hour to an hour before their bodies were found.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm just like, but they go and they find witnesses and they're like, yeah, I saw her like 30 minutes before talking to some guy. And then you're just like.
And now she's, stabbed a lot and dead. So
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's what. So this one, she had been seen alive about an hour before her body was discovered. Like I said, that's just crazy to me. Some of the stuff that happened, and I'm like, this guy was able to do that much damage in an hour, or a half an hour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like to talk to her enough to get her over to some place.
Yeah.
Where it's out of sight, and then to stab her that many times and then leave, that does seem like a lot to accomplish.
Yeah.
Weird.
And her body was discovered by a woman named Emily Holland, who actually shared, I guess they were roommates at a boarding house. They shared a bed. Found her with her throat cut 2 times. One of those was deep enough that it went all the way down to the vertebrae, which I'm just like, yeah, somebody was angry. Her lower part of her abdomen had been cut and her bowels were spilling out.
Gotta love that visual.
Yeah. Every time I hear that, I think of Scream.
Yes, I always think of Scream. I think because that's the first time I ever saw it, and it stays in your brain
that
forever.
Whole opening, 15-20 minute scene of Scream with the guy in the pool and then her hanging in the tree, and I just that anytime you say that to me, that's the visual that I have in my brain. Lived rent free. Scream, you want to talk? Yeah, we've had that conversation. Scream, really affected me as a child.
Well, I mean, you probably watched it too young, as we all did.
Yeah, because you want to be cool like all the other kids.
I know. It's like everybody else is watching. You're like, yeah, it's fine. You're like,
no, it's not fine. There were several other incisions on both sides of her abdomen, and her vagina had been stabbed twice.
Did you say her vagina?
I was vagina. I'm sorry. Words are hard this morning. I'm just bleh.
Her vagina.
Her vagina. Her vagina. Sorry.
I mean, boy.
I feel like I've got a bunch of gunk in my throat. I'm just like,
No, I completely understand. It's spring
in Kentucky. I can't. Due to the violent nature of this attack, and the police, they connected it with Martha's death, and they even went as far as thinking that the gang that killed Emma might have killed Martha and Mary Nichols in the early days. They thought
that's fair. That's fair.
Because it was like all this stuff happened within like a small period of time, within months. You know, it wasn't like, and I mean, that's reasonable to think, oh, we've got a local gang who's kind of lost their shit. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You know? The second victim, her name was Annie Chapman, and her body was discovered. Because see, I'm just bleh. I'm having problems.
Okay, you ready? Let's do our local our exercises. Mama made me mash my M&Ms.
I know. Aluminum, linoleum, aluminum. September 8th, 1888, discovered then, 6 a.m. in the doorway, and the address was 29 Hanbury Street. In a similar way to how Mary Nichols' body was decimated, or, you know, what's the word? Decimated. That's not a good word.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
Eviscerated. Is
there
that what
you
you're
go.
going for?
Yeah. A lot of the same injuries to her throat. It was the 2 cuts. Same type of abdominal injuries. But a piece of her abdominal area had been cut and left like on her left shoulder, which I'm just like, that's kind of, yeah, like a chunk of like, I guess the area was cut and just plopped on her left shoulder.
Okay.
And her small intestines were draped over her right shoulder.
At this point, it's like you move beyond like, I'm wild and frantic in the moment to now I'm having a good time.
Yeah. And also
disturbing.
Parts of her uterus and her bladder and her vagina were removed.
Because now we're a Criminal Minds episode. Okay.
Yes, we are. He's escalating. Using your Criminal Minds terminology.
What if, sorry, I don't know where my brain is today, but for some reason this popped in my brain. What if the new Doctor Who takes one of the Criminal Minds people on as like his little friendo apprentice, and they go back to Jack the Ripper, and then they like solve it?
That would be like an excellent.
I'd watch that episode.
I would
watch
too.
that episode. Okay, sorry.
I would too.
Sorry, I got distracted.
No, that is a good thought. Witness for this was Elizabeth Long. Saw her around 5:30 a.m., which was 30 minutes before they found her body, with a dark-haired man in a brown deerstalker hat and a dark overcoat, talking in the doorway of this address, this 29 Hanbury Street, and she was found like in the back door, I guess like garden area of this area. So he like talked to her, got her in like toward the back, did his thing, and I'm like, that seems like a lot to do in 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes to
yeah,
I'm with you. It doesn't. It doesn't. Well, and that like,
I'm just thinking like he's slitting their throat first, obviously, like to get them down, and then he's doing all the other junk. Like that's got to be.
Well, because otherwise they could scream.
Yeah.
And be heard. So.
Exactly. So, within the same month, on September 30th, 1888, at 1 a.m. in a place called Dutfield's Yard, Elizabeth Stride, her body was found. She only had her throat slit, just one cut to her throat, no other mutilations. So they think either she's not one of his,
or he was interrupted.
Yeah, exactly. That he might have been interrupted and was like, oops, didn't get to, like, somebody came up and he had like run away.
You can tell I have watched way too many Dateline / Criminal Minds / CSI episodes. It's fine.
I know.
It's fine.
Immediately when I saw it, I was like, there was nothing else done to her body. And then I was like, he must have been interrupted. That's immediately before I even got to that part where it's like, they think he was interrupted. I'm like, he was interrupted.
He was totally
like, I didn't have to read it.
I don't need you to tell me. I know. I'm totally a criminologist. Right. I know my things.
I know, right? I've watched way too much, read too many books. I know. Same night, 45 minutes later, a woman named Catherine Eddowes was found. Okay, throat was slit, ear to ear. Her abdomen was ripped open with her intestines, again, draped over her right shoulder. A section of her intestines were detached and then like placed in between her arm and her body, which I'm just like, this whole thing with the intestines, man, that's just...
It's concerning. I don't know what that says about you as other than a psychopath, but like...
Right.
I don't like it, but I understand like vagina-y things and like uterus-y womby things. Like I can follow that logic, but intestines, like what is it about the intestines that is so offensive to you?
Because you also have them. And I'm just like, yeah, that's why I'm like,
yeah.
Like I get it. Like if you're a man, you don't have the vagina, you don't have the womb, you don't have the uterus. I get that.
Your sexual frustration or whatever the thing is, or you hate your mom or whatever insane thing, but like intestines.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of her uterus and her entire left kidney have been removed. And this one, her face, I know. And this one, her face was disfigured. Her nose was severed. Her cheeks had been slashed. Her eyelids had been cut, and little triangular like pieces were cut out of both of her cheeks, and the points were like pointing up at her eyes. And he also removed parts of her ear, and the like pieces of her ear were found like in her clothing.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because ultimately they probably died pretty quickly from the throat. So like,
yeah,
they're probably dead for all this, but like, why?
So if in fact the first lady was his and he was interrupted, I'm gonna say he went overkill with this one because he was mad.
Yeah.
he was interrupted.
Like, oh man.
But also again, like you had 45 minutes.
Yeah. It's a lot to accomplish in 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so for this one, it said that part of Catherine's bloody apron was found on Gulston Street, and I don't know where that is in like relation to where her body was found, with chalk writing on the sidewalk that says, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." And so the police were not sure if this was relevant or if the sidewalk chalk thing was just incidental and the bloody apron was just dropped near it, because apparently it said that sidewalk chalk writing was like a thing. People did that a lot. But the police feared that it would spark some kind of anti-Semitic riot. So they were like, we need to wash this away before people wake up and start coming. So they like washed it off the sidewalk before dawn. But the way Jews was spelled was Juwes, and I was like, what?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Don't know. That was just a little tidbit in the thing. It was like, that's interesting. I don't understand this. Which the police didn't either. They were just like, we don't know.
Right. Fair.
We don't understand.
It's like, it's like maybe. Connected, not connected. Don't know.
And the last victim, who was the worst, Mary Jane Kelly, November 9th, 1888, 10:45 a.m. in her bed at her like single bedroom apartment, I guess, room, where she lived. It was the most violent. Her throat was severed down to her spine.
Ugh.
I know, and I'm just like, that's awful. Most of her organs, like her stomach was ripped open like all the others. Most of her organs were removed from her abdomen. And I'm just like, that's just overkill. Her uterus and her kidneys, and he cut off one of her breasts.
Oh,
He like put them under her head, like on the bed.
it's weird.
Yeah. And another organ was found. They didn't like specify which organs because they were basically all out of her stomach. But another organ was found by her foot, and then others were like scattered on the bed around her. A section of her abdomen had been cut out, and parts of her thighs had been cut off, and he placed them on like the nightstand next to the bed. And then her heart was missing.
Ew.
Yeah. And they could tell that he must have lit a fire, I guess, for light instead of just lighting like a little candle because stuff had been recently burned in the fireplace. So they're thinking he used the fire in the fireplace for light while he worked. He did his dirty deeds. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like she was like one of the only ones that really didn't have a witness that was like, oh, we saw her like 20 minutes before or whatever.
It seems
because
like
he had a room. He had a room this time.
He had escalated to an interruption.
Right.
He's like, if we do it in a room, then I can spend all the time I want.
Right.
Which makes it impossible to believe that she was the last one.
And also her face was just completely like mutilated beyond recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So it was even worse than the previous one. I know. And so, like I said, these were known as the canonical 5 victims. Mm-hmm. Like I said, some pose that only 3 of them were Ripper victims, that Nichols, Chapman, and Eddowes. Which I'm like, how can you not say this last one was his?
Maybe just because of the location, they decided maybe because it was not quite the same MO. But I'm like, it makes sense. In a room, if they had watched all the seasons of Criminal Minds, they would know that this is the evolution of a serial killer. So like, it makes perfect sense.
Others say more were the work of the same person. So others would like to include the one right before. Mm-hmm. Not Emma Smith, but the one in between, Martha. They'd like to include her too. During the time of the murders, there was this Dear Boss letter that was sent to the press, and that was where the name Jack the Ripper was first used in that letter. A lot of people say that was a hoax that the media just put out. Mm-hmm. To incite more panic and have more, pump up the media and the publicity.
The media wanted the public to panic so they'd buy more newspapers? What?
Huh. I know, right? It's hard to believe. Yeah. And then there was this from hell letter that was sent to a guy named George Lusk, who was the head of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, and it came with a kidney that was allegedly from one of the victims.
Yeah.
And it was also allegedly from Jack the Ripper. Mm-hmm. Somebody claiming to be Jack the Ripper. So also, again, more panic ensued. Numerous letters were sent to Scotland Yard by the alleged killer, taunting officers like, I'm doing this and you can't catch me, kind of nonsense that goes on. And like I said, in the early days, police focused on local gangs, but by September, they were like, okay, this first one was its own deal. Mm-hmm. These others are something different. This is not likely, not the gang.
Right.
Because they feel like the panic and publicity of what was going on, if it was gangs, would have led somebody in the gang to like start running their mouth, maybe bragging about it, or somebody would have started getting antsy and maybe informed on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they were like, they turned away from the whole, like, all this belongs to a gang. They're like, okay, no, we're going to move away from that. They began to suspect that the killer had maybe medical knowledge. And so they started looking into medical students. Some of the police force didn't see it that way. Some of them thought like how brutal everything was, that the killer might have been more of like a butcher or a slaughterhouse person. I mean, so they were like, looking into people like that.
To me, that would make sense, except like it's not like they're carving things out correctly. Like they're just kind of all over the place. Like it sounds like something that, I mean, I don't want to say I could do because like ew, but like anyone could cut haphazardly. I mean, like you can cut a triangle in someone's flesh. Like that's not butcher skill level, but whatever.
I know. But they did believe that this guy probably lived in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So they were focusing on the neighborhoods that the crimes happened in. They conducted over 2,000 interviews.
Mm-hmm.
300 people were investigated, and 80 people were detained. And possibly that they did have Jack the Ripper, the guy who was Jack the Ripper, and all that, but they never had anything that yielded any concrete evidence. So the case is still unsolved. Hooray!
Hooray! But he's probably dead now, so it's okay.
Yeah, right. I know. Those are the ones that like cases are still unsolved, and it's like he's still out there.
And you're
Ooh, yeah. And obviously, suspects abound even now, and so they're debated. One of the top ones was a guy named Montague Druitt. He was a barrister, like a lawyer type guy, and a teacher with an interest in surgical stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does he have a particular fondness for intestines?
I don't know. It didn't say that. It says he was dismissed from his school that he taught at, I guess. Didn't say why. It was just like
probably something not very good.
Scandalous. Something scandalous happened.
Because like dismissed. You could do an awful lot of shit back then, and people were like, "No, it's fine. Beat the children. No big deal." But like,
I know, right? There was a guy. I guess he was a detective kind of dude, Melville McNaughton, who had his like memorandum put out, and he had a list of like suspects in it. In that he described Montague Druitt as sexually insane. So that makes me wonder if something happened at the school that was like with one of the students. I don't know. Druitt disappeared shortly after the last murder, and it's like the murder stopped, and his body was found in the Thames shortly after, and it was suicide. They found him in December of 1888. That he'd been there a while. Like I said, crime stopped, so it's like maybe not. We don't know. Another suspect is a guy named Michael Ostrog. I don't know how to say his name. He's Russian. He's a doctor, also a convict. McNaughton, in his little memorandum thing, calls him a lunatic. Yeah.
Awesome.
He was like, yeah. He was just because he was like, he needs to be in a lunatic asylum, that he's awful person. Basically, though, it was not that bad, that he was just kind of a petty criminal. He was, because McNaughton was like, oh, he's violent. It was like the only time he got violent was when there was like an altercation with a police officer who pulled a gun on him. So it's like,
all right, it's not really violent. They're being violent first.
I know, he was like just a petty thief. Like it wasn't. So I mean, he had been like put in jail, but not. So I don't know how I feel about him. I'm just kind of like, the first guy looks pretty good, but that guy, I'm just kind of like, oh, you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, kind of thing. I don't. there's nothing really about him that's like, he's a sexual deviant, you know. Now the next guy, he's looking pretty good. Aaron Kaminsky. He was a Polish Jew who had a whole bunch of animosity towards women, especially sex workers.
Well,
yeah, yeah. Apparently, he was also insane. And McNaughton said he was hospitalized shortly after the last murder. And
okay.
Again, they kind of stopped. So it's like he had, he was violent toward women and sex workers. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yep. That's another one that I'm like,
maybe.
You might be high up on my list.
I dig it.
Yeah. There was one guy whose name was Thomas Cutbush, and the Sun newspaper put out like a series of articles like talking about a guy who they thought was Jack the Ripper, and they never actually named him, but it was Thomas Cutbush.
Right.
And apparently he was kind of high up on the police's suspect list. But McNaughton never really liked him much for, like, I guess he thought some of these other people were
more likely.
Yeah, he never really liked him for it, but it was one of those, like, he didn't really have good alibis. And I think that's some of the other things too. All these people didn't have good alibis either.
Yeah.
So now the last one, I mean, there are others too, but these are some of the big ones that stuck out. The last one, this one I was like, this is interesting because I've never read this book, but it's a painter and his name is Walter Sickert. Apparently Patricia Cornwell wrote a book in 2002.
I knew that.
Yeah, called Portrait of a Killer. Jack the Ripper, case closed or something like that. She believes that he is Jack the Ripper, like hands down. Nobody else is it. This painter guy is it. She puts up that he was impotent because of some surgeries he had when he was a kid, because of fistula of the penis.
Okay.
I had to look that up. I was like, I don't know what that is. And apparently it's where your urethra does not connect totally. So you can't like pee correctly.
Oh.
So it's like they have to go in and like fix stuff. So he had to have like a couple of surgeries because of that. And
they could fix that then?
Apparently. This is what she puts out in her book. According to my sources that I did not say at the beginning. Which are, and I will say them right now. Wikipedia, jacktheripper.org, Britannica, and history. But yeah. She, I guess, hypothesizes that it scarred him emotionally and left him with a pathological hatred for women. And then probably puts out a whole bunch of other evidence why it's him. However, there was other evidence out there to suggest that he was not impotent because he was married. His wife winds up divorcing him because he's like unfaithful.
Okay.
And apparently he like supposedly fathered an illegitimate child. So the impotent thing might not totally be accurate, but
okay.
But anyway, I guess go check out her book, see what she says about this dude.
What a weird,
because I've not read this.
What a very weird thing to be. Like, you're Patricia Cornwell and you write all these fiction books. Write fiction? She's a fiction writer, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But
isn't she like romancy? Is she the romancy one, or am I wrong?
I don't know. Let's look her up on she writes.
I'm like, is she the romancy one?
Patricia Cornwell. Let's see. Yes, she is a crime writer, best known for her novels featuring medical examiner Kay Scarpetta. So, yeah, so she definitely writes, but it's just like, okay, like I get being obsessed with crime because you're a crime writer, but like to the point of digging up some random person that is now your prime suspect for being Jack the Ripper. I mean, all right, everybody needs a hobby,
yeah,
but just odd,
huh,
weird.
that is odd.
But maybe we should read it, Claire.
Maybe. But no, I don't think this guy was random. Because I mean, he lived in the area. That was part of it too.
Let me rephrase it. Random in the sense of like the primary suspects tend to not be that. Like I've never heard that name. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not that that means anything.
Oh, but then here was another one. This guy named Severin Klosowski.
Mm-hmm.
He was a junior surgeon in Poland in 1887, and he came to London, and he wound up finding work as an assistant hairdresser. And he was kind of back and forth between London and America, and back to London, and he lives with this woman named Annie Chapman. No relation to that the other Chapman. But he winds up adopting her name and then changes his name to George Chapman. But he was one, I guess, because he was a surgeon. He's another one that gets arrested. He was actually arrested for murder and for murdering his first two wives.
Oh. Well then.
Yeah, he was arrested and found guilty of murder and was executed in April of 1903. But it was suggested that he might have also been responsible for Whitechapel murders. So
wild.
Yeah, there was another police officer who really liked him for them. So they could have been him too. I mean, there are several options.
I keep waiting for the day where we are so advanced that we can just solve murders without, like, we can just feed it all into the computer, and it just is like, this is the person who did it.
Get AI to solve it.
AI is like, here you go.
Right. AI knows all. Just get AI to solve everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just like one of those. I'm like, maybe one of these days we'll find the one thing that's like, this is the piece of evidence that's like, this is it. We know who Jack the Ripper is. Or even like with Zodiac, that's another one that lives rent free in my head, because that's also terrifying to me.
It's like if you could have the solution to like any crime that had ever been committed, like if you could know 100% who it was that did it and what happened, which crime would you choose?
Yeah.
And I'm like, for me, it's always going to be John Benet Ramsey, because it's such a fucked up, even though I'm like, I think I know, but like, I don't know. Like that would be the one I would want, just for my own, like,
you're like, I need to know.
It's like, they don't need to be prosecuted. I mean, that'd be nice, but like, it doesn't need to have resolution. I just need to know.
Right. I need to know the answer. But anyway, that is the story of Jack the Ripper, and who could possibly be Jack the Ripper, but we don't know, because it's like, they didn't have all the fancy schmancy stuff that we have now.
It's amazing.
Like DNA and all that stuff.
Well, in basic criminology and crime scene stuff, and
right. And they're also like, wash that off the ground. We don't want to riot.
Which, I mean, not wrong.
Right.
You know, if you're having to choose, I think I would
but
go the
they also didn't have cameras.
Yeah.
Too. Because a lot of these photos you're looking up, they're also just like drawings.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, here's a police drawing. And you're just like, oh, this is terrible. Like, you just feel bad. You're like,
can you imagine if you were like the person who had to go sketch the crime scene, and you're like, everything smells and there's flies and it's gross, and you're like,
you just have to stuff some junk up your nose and just
like
go on about life. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, those are those are the people who might be Jack the Ripper. And
Thank you.
anyway, you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Claire. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, time to find out the very important things. I guess I will go first this week on what am I judging?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I would do everyone a favor and bring, more happy, positive, or just like odd things to judge instead of the world is a giant shitfest and everything's on fire. Because it is, but that's okay. So this week I learned about a narwhal that
Yes. I love narwhals. Yes.
In 2016 apparently got separated from his pod of narwhals and was found in like the St. Lawrence River that feeds into like the Great Lakes or whatever. Narwhals apparently primarily live up in the Arctic, oceany, whatever.
Yeah.
But so he has integrated and befriended a pod of beluga whales.
Belugas. I love
like,
whales in general, but belugas are so cute anyway.
And so it's like they're all like the same age male kind of pod. And so now they've been together for several years, obviously. They are now of an age in which mating is about to become part of their lives. And so like scientists are following to see if the narwhal has truly become part of the pod to the extent that it can mate with a beluga, because apparently, and this is real,
can that happen?
and this is real, apparently they can. There have been narwhal beluga hybrids. They're called narlugas.
What?
I'm not kidding. They found one. They found one in 2000, or they found like the bones from one in 2019. So they know that it's real and they know that it can happen. So they're following to see if this one can do that. It has become so much part of the beluga pod that it can mate with a beluga and create a narluga. And I'm like, I love it.
I want it to happen.
No, I was like, this is so cute and sweet. I mean, I'm sad that the narwhal lost his pod, but like he seems happy in his beluga pod.
But I'm glad that he's been adopted by a beluga pod.
And they're having a grand old time. Like they're all buddies. They support each other.
I hope he finds somebody.
I know. Isn't that so sweet? And also
that is.
narluga. How cute.
Narluga. I do. That's amazing.
So that's my super positive, happy one. You're like, oh, found family. I love a good trope.
I do too. Found families, yes.
So the other thing that I learned about that is currently living rent-free in my brain is I was watching a TikTok and it was a veterinarian ophthalmologist. And he was talking about what lives rent-free in his brain, the thing that he can't stop thinking about. And he was talking about octopi, whatever plural you want to go with. Octopuses, octopi, whatever. And how one of the amazing things about an octopus is that they can compress their body into like almost any size shape.
Right.
Being down to the like essentially the smallest size like of their beak, because that's the only hard part of their body. So they can and that includes their eyes. And so they were like, as a veterinarian ophthalmologist, he's interested in the eyes, shocker. But they've discovered that in an octopus eye, there is a hole in the cornea. And so like it's able to compress and get all the fluid out in order to shrink into whatever. But what they discovered is that it is not like a vitreous humor or like the stuff that we have in our eyes. It's literally just seawater that flows in and out of their eyeball. And I'm going, what the hell are octopus? They have to be aliens. They can't possibly be of this planet, because what the hell? But I'm fascinated by it because I'm like, well, if ocean water is enough for their eyeballs to work, then like, could it be enough for ours? Like, could it be as simple as like a saline solution to replace like the liquid in her. I'm just curious. I mean, I can't make that
You're
leap.
just,
I don't know anything,
right.
But I was like, weird. But also, octopus are weird.
They are. They are so weird.
So those are my 2 ocean animal specific judges for the week. 1, that narlugas are adorable, and 2, that octopi are aliens.
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I concur. They have to be aliens.
They have to be. I mean, they're really cool. 100% here for them, but like also a little creeped out by how smart they are when there's like nothing but water in them.
Right? You're like, how can you compress your brain down to that? Like, really? Like, what? I know. It's weird when it's stuff like that. You're just like, I can't explain any, like,
and like, I don't understand. Okay.
Right.
So, Claire, what are you judging this week?
I'm gonna do 2 judges real quick. First one, serious judge, I guess, to kind of go with my story.
Sure.
I'm sure a lot of you have seen that stupid TikTok junk going around about the man and the bear in the woods.
Oh my God. I am so fucking tired of people.
I feel like the story just like solidifies why women would choose the bear.
It's like it is a hypothetical situation, and we're still being mansplained about how we're wrong.
Yeah.
And it like, you're missing the point.
Why it just like anytime you get like men are just like feeling some type of way about why women are choosing the bear, and it's like, and you are just like driving the point home.
It's like,
why
thank
we
you,
would
thank
choose
you for
the bear.
I'm still choosing the bear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you assholes never like saw like why girls like Beauty and the Beast. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like choosing the bear.
Well, the thing that cracks me up is like I saw one person, like one guy, be like, "My mom got mauled by a bear," and I'm like, "Yeah, but did anyone blame her for it? Did anyone accuse her? Like, well, you should have been wearing that." Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm sorry your mom got mauled by a bear, but like, you can name one person mauled by a bear. I can name several people that have been assaulted by guys.
So in that same vein,
yeah,
like this past week, apparently it happened. It was on Facebook. This past week, a bear here in E-Town crawled on somebody's back deck, and they caught it on camera. Like somebody's security camera caught like this black bear just wandering around somebody's back deck, like moseying around, and they sent it into the newspaper, and the newspaper like wrote an article about it, posted it on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. It was making its way around. So I'm reading the comments as I do.
As you do.
Eating my popcorn, drinking my tea. Sitting back enjoying the show. And most of the comments were people talking about, well, we're developing this area so much. What the hell do you expect?
Right.
You know, which I mean, fair, because we are. I mean, E-Town is growing.
It's like there are bears. They have an area. Yeah. We build houses there. They're going to be there.
I mean, we're like taking up so much land. I mean, they are building that giant ass blue oval fucking Ford plant down yonder. Right. I mean, they're taking up a lot of land, and it's like, that was a lot. The majority of the comments were mostly in that vein. Like, you're taking up their homes. What did you expect? You know, they're going to start being curious and being like, hey, what you got here? You know?
Yeah.
Facts. However, because of the bear thing, there was one like man who was like, here you go, ladies, you know, and it was like, get the fuck out of here. You know, like I thought that in my head. I did not comment. Like I said, I was just here to read. However, one person shared a tweet, like a picture of a tweet that said something to the effect of like, I choose the bear because I won't have to carry its fetus in 24 states. I want to carry its fetus to term in 24 states. And some of these guys were like, what the hell are you talking about? And it was just like, are y'all living under a rock?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening here? You know? And I'm just like, oh man, shit's about to hit the fan on these comment sections. And there were a couple in the vein of the man and the bear in the woods. And I'm like, oh my gosh, But I'm like, shit. Like, yikes. Comment sections are wild, guys. Sometimes it's like, depending on the topic, it's like, stay out of the comment section.
It's true. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, it is dangerous. But yeah, it's just every time it's like, you see this and you're just, all these men have all these feelings and comments, and you're just like, but do you know? Have you been harassed? I'm just saying.
That's the thing. It's one of the things that's very frustrating when talking. Again, never am I going to say all guys, but in talking, talking to guys, it's hard to explain what it's like because it's every day. Like there are stuff that happens all the time that we don't even pay that much attention to anymore, but it's still in that vein of reminding us that,
right.
We're not necessarily 100% safe,
Right.
It's exhausting.
It is. Anyway, that's my judge. It's
excellent judge.
I feel like guys need to shut the fuck up because you don't know.
Yes, that is correct.
And you don't know. And the fact that even some of these people who are dads are saying they would choose the bear for their daughters, like that to me speaks volumes.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway, second judge, more lighthearted on another note. I go to work. I hadn't worked in a while. My second job, my part-time job. I walk in, and my coworker that I'm working with, she's another manager. I was closing with her that night, and first thing out of her mouth when I get there is she's like, "Oh my God, be glad you didn't work this past Saturday. Somebody shit in the dressing room." I was like, well, first I was just like, you know what though? Yeah, again. Because I was like, that's like the third time that's happened, like in the 8 years that I've been here. And she's kind of like looked at me like, what?
And you're
I'm like, yeah, that's nothing new. Okay. Granted, I've not been there to have to clean any of it up, thank God. Right. Because literally, I do not get paid enough to deal with that shit.
No, you don't.
I mean, honestly, literally, that is above my pay grade. I'm just saying.
I would 12,000% call the store manager every time and be like, I have not had biohazard training. You get paid more than me, so you go do this.
Exactly. I don't get 6 weeks of vacation.
No.
Okay, you do. I don't.
It's like, you get to come in and clean up the shit, because I don't get paid enough. I'm not doing it.
But anyway, yeah, store manager was also there this Saturday that it happened. So, but anyway, I was like, but she was like, no, but this person did it on purpose. And I was like, oh, because I think the other times it had been like an older lady accident type situation. Like, but I was like, what? And so finally getting enough people like out of the store so she could tell me what happens. Yeah. So apparently on Saturday, it's early, like store opens at 10. She said it was around 11:30ish. Hadn't had too many people, so there hadn't been a lot of people back in the dressing room.
Right.
She said the phone rings, and so this again, secondhand information. I'm just telling you how it was told to me.
Sure.
She said the phone rings, and she answers it, and so there's a lady on the phone telling her that she's driving by the store, and there is a woman standing outside the store with her panties dropped down to her ankles, and she's peeing on the sidewalk outside in front of the store.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what? I was like, did she have her pants pulled down too? And my coworker was like, well, she had on a dress. And I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. That's easy access, whatever. I'm just like, this lady has her dress like hiked up with her panties pulled down around her ankles, taking a piss on the sidewalk. I mean, this is a strip mall, guys. Like and she's like telling, and so my coworker's like, what is she wearing? Like she's like wanting to go, and so she says she's walking to the front of the store, and as she's walking to the front of the store, this woman walks into the store, and so she makes a beeline back to the dressing room. But as she does, she grabs a bra, just like first bra, like on one of these racks, just grabs it and goes into the handicapped dressing room and shuts the door. And so a coworker said she walked back there and she was like, "Do you need a bra fit or something, hon? Can I help you with anything?" And so the lady was like, "No, I'm just going to try on this bra." And then she said she hears her grunting.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then she was like, "Oh my God, this lady is taking a shit in the dressing room." And I'm like, what? I was dying as she's telling me this. I'm like dying 1,000 deaths. I'm just like, oh my God. And so she said she walks out of the dressing room and she's just like, kind of like, what is happening? And I was like, you should have told her you were going to call the cops.
Yeah.
Because that's like taking a shit in public. Like, that's not cool. No. And she was like, "Claire." She said, "I was still in shock." She goes, "I didn't know what to do." She's like, "I was in shock. I didn't know what the hell to do."
I'm trying to process everything that's happening.
Yeah. Because she said it all happened just so fast. Like, it was all like, just like within like minutes of each other. And so she said that she's like, I walked back to the dressing room. She's like, there's some clothes hanging on the rack. I grabbed them to like put them back out. And she said, I can still hear her grunting. And she said, I'm just like, oh my God.
Honey, you're not supposed to push that hard. This gives you hemorrhoids.
I know. But she's like, she's grunting. And my coworkers, she's like, I'm dying on the inside, like, oh my God. Like, I was like, is she going to use, I said, why'd she grab the bra? I said, is she going to use it to wipe? I said, was she taking a shit in the bra? Like, what is happening? And, she was just like, I don't know. She said, that's why she's like, I'm just kind of like walking around, like keeping an eye on the door to see her leave, and she said, finally, I see her like emerge from the dressing room and I see her throw something in there. It's like a small garbage can in the dressing room, like under a table back there. A lot of that stuff is still left out from COVID. There's like paper towels and some cleaning stuff, and, some gloves and stuff back there. And said she walks out and she just kind of like moseys through the store and like looks at a shirt on a rack. Mind you, she's done this and not washed her hands. No, because there's no sink.
There's no sink in there.
We don't have a public restroom.
Right.
I mean, there technically is there is a restroom in the dressing rooms, but we kept it locked because apparently when they had it open for all those years, people made an absolute mess of it and people got tired of cleaning it. And so finally they just shut it and use it as storage now. Like nobody there, the store manager and the assistant store manager have keys to it and we use it as storage.
Right.
Like that's it. Like nobody else has access to and we just use it for mannequin storage. I mean, there is a toilet and a sink in that room, but it's like nobody uses the bathroom because it was getting too much to clean because people are absolute Neanderthals.
As this story tells you.
Yes, people are disgusting. Anyway, so she sees the woman just kind of drop something in the trash can and like she's moseying and like grabs like a shirt and just kind of looks at it and then goes to another rack and like does another shirt. And then she said she like beelines it out of the store. And so she said she walks up to our main manager and she was like, I don't want to go back there. And she said her manager was like, why? And she goes, I'm pretty sure that lady just took a shit in the dressing room. And our manager was like, what? And she goes, yeah. And she told her what happened. And so they both go back there. And apparently what she had done was grabbed the paper towels off the table back there and like laid them on the bench in the dressing room. I guess had taken a shit on the paper towels. And let me tell you, the paper towels that we get are completely useless.
Yeah, they're the
like,
garbage.
They are the paper towels
the thin,
in the Bounty commercial.
Things,
yeah, they're the paper towels in the Bounty commercial that you do one wipe and it just completely tears the fuck apart.
Yeah.
Those are the paper towels that we get because we have to use a stupid, like, company to get all of our supplies from. And they're all cheap.
And they're buying the cheapest. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheap ass paper towels, cheap ass toilet paper that will like tear your ass to pieces. I mean, the worst of the worst when it comes to
completely understand.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, but apparently she had like laid these paper towels out on the bench and taken a shit on these paper towels and then just wadded the whole thing up and dumped them in that little teeny tiny garbage can in the dressing room.
Ugh.
In like
did you just throw away the whole trash can and like let's just start over?
I don't know, because there was a bag in the trash can. So apparently my manager and I said, please tell me she put on gloves. You know, my coworker was like, yeah, she put on gloves. So she put on gloves and just grabs the whole bag and just took it out to the dumpster.
Right.
But apparently there were still like smears on the bench.
Yeah.
Because the paper towels are garbage. Yeah. And so apparently they were like poop smears on the bench in the dressing room. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm just like, what is wrong with people? Literally, the store right next door to us has a public restroom. Actually, I think on either side of us. The stores on either side of us have public restrooms. In that strip mall.
You should...
Or she could have gone down to fucking Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble has a public restroom.
You need to put signs on your dressing room doors that say something about these are not bathrooms. Please do not make a mess in these rooms, or you know, like something so that people are like, oh my God, people take dumps in here. Like I need that reaction. I mean,
seriously.
So that way you can just be like,
this is not a restroom. Please do not take a shit on the bench.
Well, and be like, and then like with the words, with like this store and this store and this store all have public restrooms. If you need to use the restroom, please go to that store. Like, God. Ugh.
I'm so glad I was not at work on Saturday.
That is horrifying.
But it was just like, you know, and even my coworker, I was like, you and I both literally do not get paid enough.
No, God,
to have to deal with
awful.
That shit.
Oh, that is excellent, Claire. That is an excellent judge. And also just a reminder of how
I'm judging people who do that.
Like, how horrible people are.
Yeah. Ew. The public is disgusting.
The public is disgusting. Ugh.
And I'm just like, is this life? Like, what? I mean, like, I get like I hadn't worked there, but maybe like, I don't know, a month. And they locked the store because an old lady had an accident. Right. And I mean, and like, that's different.
I get that. I get that there are people of all ages, like there's something going on, but like this was a very bizarre, premeditated thing.
Right.
Like, weird.
I mean, and because the one that happened like right after I worked there was this old lady had an accident and she made a mess, and then they're trying to get her out, and she tracked it through the store. And so they had to lock the store so we could clean up the stuff on the tile, which, I mean, you can mop that up, but then they had to call somebody in because the dressing rooms have carpet.
Yeah.
So then it was one of those, I had to call somebody in to clean the carpet. That was, you know, that happens. And then apparently, like, not that long ago, a lady had an accident and peed on one of the ottomans. You know, and that ottoman is still out of commission in the back room because they need somebody to come clean it because it's, you know, clean the upholstery on it or whatever. But it's just like, but this was like next level of, you know, yish. Oh my God. I mean, if somebody just intentionally come in and just like take a shit in the dressing room, like, what is that?
That's the same kind of thing that happens at all libraries, because, and I just remember once working and someone had taken a dump in the storytime room, and it was not a child, it was not some kid that had made a mistake, it was an adult who had gone in there and pooped to be stupid. So like, public places are dangerous places, and people are garbage.
Yeah. People are savages. I swear. They're awful. They're the worst. They're Neanderthals. They need... yuck. I mean, it was obviously that woman was... I mean, it wasn't like she was, you know, didn't know what she was doing, you know. And I'm just like, oh my God.
And
then my coworker said she went back there and she started spraying, like... after the remnants had been removed, and she's spraying and trying to get the smell out of the air. And she's, of course, came back and they're like, "Can you give me a dressing room?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, somebody just passed gas really bad back here." And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And they said they had to shut that one particular room down while our manager thoroughly
cleaned
disinfected it. Oh my god! And I'm just like, I don't even want to go in that one now. I don't want to touch it.
It's probably cleaner than the others at this point.
I mean, facts. It's like, oh my god. I told her, I said, y'all should have just shut the dressing rooms down at that point and been like, "I'm sorry, nobody can come back here for a minute." I mean, seriously, bleh.
Well, and on that lovely note, it must be tarot time with April. Hi, spooky. Well, Claire, I don't quite know what to ask the cards this week. I mean, should we be asking for the identity of Jack the Ripper? Should we be asking, does the universe choose the man or the bear? Or should we be asking about potential dumps in the dressing room in the future?
I don't know. But I feel like that brought back some PTSD from my days of working at Levi Jackson. That's all I got to say.
Oh, I bet. I don't know. I think it would be fun. Let's let the universe answer the question. Universe, do you choose the man or the bear? What choice does the universe give us? Because why the heck not?
Right. Let's see if we can decipher.
All right. We have the Ten of Swords, which is one of my favorite cards because it's literally stabbed in the back with 10 swords. There's nothing good happening.
Right.
We have the Tower inverted.
Because the tower's kind of,
And we have the Ace of Coins / Pentacles, also inverted. I'm having a lot of weird inversions lately.
We have been, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right, universe, tell us your knowledge. Give us your things. So the Ten of Swords is the worst damn card, honestly.
Yes.
Let's see. The best thing that you can say when this card shows up is that at least things won't get any worse. So, I mean, I guess it's a fair, accurate assumption of the scenario. You're choosing a man or a bear. It's pretty shitty. It's a pretty shitty scenario.
Those are not good options.
They're not good options.
Random man or bear. Okay.
I love it. Is he dead? I hope so. If he isn't, he's awfully uncomfortable. And I'm like, damn, because he does have 10 swords in his back. So, all right then. So cool. And then we have the Tower. The Tower inverted.
Because the tower's the bad one. The tower's pretty crappy too. When it's upright.
Yeah. Okay. Inverted. It can be about nearly getting flattened. Do you ever have a moment where you nearly got hit by a car and had that cold feeling in the pit of your stomach? A premonition that comes just before tragedy would have struck. Lord, this is quite as good. It's at least addressing the question quite well. It's a pretty shitty question, according to the universe.
I know, the universe is I don't like either of these options.
It's it sucks. Let's see. Sometimes the tower inverted is scarier than upright because the distortion and general wrongness of the situation just gets worse and worse. Oh. Okay. Well, let's see about our Ace of Pentacles inverted here. If you use your imagination when you invert the Ace of Pentacles card, the money or security will literally fall out of the hand. It's resting lightly in the palm when it's right side up. No stress, no worry. But if it's upside down, everything falls away. You lose your security, your connections. It is anxiety and stress. So I guess the universe is saying both options are shitty.
That's what I was like. The universe does not like either option.
Both options suck. So best of luck to you. And I'm like, well, okay. Cool. Thank you, universe, for weighing in on the man versus bear question.
It's like, neither are
You're probably
good.
gonna die. At
Either
least
way.
wish you were dead. But it's pretty much the worst ever. And very stressful. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, universe, for your help in that. All right. Well, that was a fun episode, Claire.
Yay.
Yay. So thank you for your lovely Jack the Ripper story. And
You're
be
welcome.
sure to join us next week when I talk another serial killer. Yay!
Yay!
I will keep it to myself. So until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, comment, subscribe, and you can send us some topics for our wheel or any stories you'd like for us to cover, including serial killers that you want to hear about, to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.